There we go. All right, so for those of you that don't know me, I'm Meredith Murley. I'm the program manager for the MNA AmeriCorps VISTA program. And because our program is ending at the end of this service year, we're hoping to provide a connection point for our host sites and other intermediary organizations that are doing really great work throughout the state. So the hope is you can connect with some folks that might be a good touch point for your continuation of using national service to support your organizations. But please feel free to drop questions in the chat. Feel free to unmute if you want. And this is intended to be a place where you can get your questions answered. So please, if you have them, ask them. I'm sure that our incredible guests today will gladly answer any questions that you have. So very brief introduction. I won't speak for most folks, but Patrice and Jenna are here from Michigan Community Service Commission, their youth development VISTA program that works with programs centering around youth around the state. And then Rachel Diskin from CDM works on kind of the economic side of VISTA programs around the state. But they will speak to it more intelligently than I can for sure. And then we'll also very briefly cover a couple options that aren't intermediary VISTA site specific, just in case you guys are looking at other options for supporting national service. But I'll be quiet now, which is a thing that I'm working on. So Rachel, please feel free to share and chat us through your program.
Great. Thanks, Meredith and Mara, for having me here today. I recognize a lot of people here. How's it going? So I'm here to chat with you and just share about the CDM's AmeriCorps program. So I have a couple of slides and you should be able to see those. And I guess I'm kind of going off script a little bit because we have a VISTA and an AmeriCorps state program. So I am going to take this opportunity to tell you about both because why not? So first off, what is CDM? So most of you, if you don't know me already, you probably never heard of CDM. That's kind of a strange acronym, but basically what we do is we help, we're a statewide trade association, kind of like the Michigan Nonprofit Association of Community Economic Development. That can be like an easy way to think about it. So we provide trainings, resources, in capacity building for programs around community economic development. But we really look at the field of community economic development like holistically. And, a lot of people immediately think of business attraction or affordable housing when you think of that field, but really there's so much more than just the economic side of it. So we focus also on the community side of building awesome places to live in Michigan. So we have more than 250 organizations across the state that are members, and they do all different types of things. So, we've got your traditional community development corporations, but also, local municipalities, grassroots, neighborhood nonprofits, you name it, they're probably a member of CDM in some way and capacity. So we really just help to support anyone who's trying to make their community a better place. And so our unofficial slogan, which I'm really trying to make our official slogan, is you help your community, we help you. I love it. I feel like it's got a great, I don't know, sing-song situation. There might be a jingle somewhere that I need to worry about. Anyway, so that's what CDM does, if you were wondering. So like I said, we provide a lot of different things to our member organizations, but I'm primarily in charge of our AmeriCorps programs. So we have two AmeriCorps programs. They're both statewide. So really any organization that's working to improve their community across the state, anywhere in the state, could participate in our programs. So we have an AmeriCorps state program and an AmeriCorps VISTA program. And it just so happens that we are launching recruitment for those programs tomorrow. So it's worked out really well. I'm going to type the link in the chat box for you all. So we haven't officially launched, but I updated the website a couple minutes ago. So the host site applications are on there if you want to go scope it out. I'll tell you just briefly about the two programs. So we have 20 AmeriCorps state placements, and the members in this program focus on financial stability work. So we have 4 allowable activities, and you'll notice they're all direct service. So the AmeriCorps state is usually a little bit more direct service related than AmeriCorps VISTA, though they can do capacity building and sustainability development, that type of stuff as well. AmeriCorps state tends to be a little bit more flexible in terms of direct service, indirect service. It can be more flexible, but they can do direct service, and a lot of our activities are focused on direct service or have a piece of it that is. The 4 activities are facilitating financial education workshops, Show Me the Money Day support, which is probably a CEDM lingo that you might not know. So that's like a community resource fair. So if you've heard of like Project Homeless Connect type thing, similar, where you just get a lot of service providers in one space to make it a one-stop shop for somebody. So it can be Show Me the Money Day, and I should have changed this to just say Community Resource Fair. This is a holdover from an old presentation I did for CEDM internally, because it could be any community resource fair. That's actually what's in our AmeriCorps grant, is just community resource fairs in general. So if you've got something else in mind that fits into that type of bucket, that would be allowable as well. And then VITA, free income tax assistance support. So actually preparing taxes, and then also doing the behind the scenes work on, like recruiting volunteers and site sustainability for that. And then kind of our bucket all in one-on-one client services. So typically that looks like foreclosure prevention services. We've got a few members working on eviction diversion for renters right now. We've got a few members working on connecting people to energy assistance. So really whatever like the need is, and I'm grateful that we decided to go this kind of all-encompassing bucket, because we've seen so many different programs pop up just in the past year that members are getting plugged in to help people access those resources. So that's our AmeriCorps state program. They're all meant to increase financial stability. We have some flexible terms. We've got the standard like full year, full-time that you're used to with VISTA. We also have full year part-time, and then 7 months full-time. So all of our members will start in September for the AmeriCorps state program. So host site applications are launching. So we're right at the beginning of the kind of host site recruitment, bringing on new host sites. So we also have VISTA members. So this is what you're here for. So our program it's a little weird in that we applied under this like priority program 4 years ago that was rural communities. So we were originally focused in rural areas only. And so we don't have like a focus area like youth education or economic opportunity, or we always get put into economic opportunity because that's what CEDM does, but actually our grant allows us to do pretty much anything, which is great because there's such a need out there. What we said in our grant application was that AmeriCorps members have to be creating or expanding like significantly an anti-poverty program in a rural community. So that's where we started. We get a lot of applications from non-rural communities, and we since have dropped the rural. So you do not have to be in a rural community to apply for our program. And so really it can be anything as long as it's anti-poverty programming. So we've got members working like on facade improvement programs. We've got members working or serving at a homeless shelter, doing fundraising. It's really, it kind of runs the gamut. And all of these are full year, full time, like you're used to. So a couple of things to know if you're thinking about like, do I want to apply for a host a member through CEDM? We have a really strong commitment to equity within our programs. Starting with next year, we're upping the living allowance for the AmeriCorps state members to $19,000, and we're offering a housing stipend for the VISTA members that will get their living allowance up to $19,000 a year as well. We just really saw that you know how hard it is for the AmeriCorps members to live on that living allowance. So I don't have to tell you. We also provide some significant professional development opportunities for the AmeriCorps members as well. So I actually kind of did the calculation. I'd say probably around 12 to 15, maybe 15% of their time will be doing training with CDM, and the rest of it would be with you all. And host sites are expected to have that same commitment. So one of the questions on our host site application asks about how you're going to make sure you have a diverse candidate pool. And we also are requiring, we're putting together a diversity and equity and inclusion in hiring training for all of our supervisors next year. And then of course we have just like the regular supervisor orientation. And we do require a host site fee. So it's a sliding scale based on organization size. So somewhere between $7,000 and $9,000 based on your organization size. And a small fraction of that goes towards paying that housing stipend, and we're going to cover the rest for now and cross our fingers we can get more funding. I know you all know how that is too. Okay, so yeah, we're recruiting for host sites. This is where you can go to find out more. Host site applications are due on April 23rd. So you have a little bit of time, and we are also hosting an informational webinar where I'll do probably the same presentation with some additional slides. So if you're interested, feel free to sign up. You can sign up on that same website, and I will also record it and then post it there. So if you want to wait till after April 7th and listen to it, you can do that too. Does anyone have any questions?
Rachel, I heard you say that you have 20 AmeriCorps state slots. How many VISTA slots do you have?
Sorry about that, 10.
Okay, and do you know, like, given the host sites who you think will be returning likely, like, do you think you're gonna have flexibility in the host sites? Is it gonna be pretty competitive? Like, I don't wanna put you on the spot, but like, how would our host sites think about that?
That's a great question. I'm asking them to let me know for sure if they're returning. I think like I can't say mid-March, and towards the end of March. So prior to the applications being due, I would say we'll have at least 5 slots, would be my guess, that are up for grabs. And if there's a huge influx of people who want to apply, like we'll have to look at budget, because now that we're offering this stipend, every additional slot we say like, yeah, we'll do 11, then we have to find $4,700 plus everything that it costs to run the program. So I don't know how that would work this year, but if you're interested, let me know so I can start thinking about it.
Hey, Rachel, this is Nicole. Good to see you. My quick question is, you said your state program starts in September. When does the VISTA program begin?
Good question. Usually right at the end of August. So we try to get them to start kind of at the same time so that they can be a cohort together.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right, great. Well, thanks so much for having me. If you have any questions, I'll put my email in the chat box as well, so you can send me an email.
Excellent. And yeah, we'll send a follow-up email with all of our program managers' contact information and anything else that is pertinent, like the bit.ly link, that kind of stuff. So we'll make sure that we're not leaving anything out. But thank you, Rachel. I appreciate it. I feel like I learned a lot about CDM, actually. Sorry for putting you in the economic development square. It's good to know.
That's all right. VISTA does it too, and I'm like.
It's having economic in your name, man. It's just so easy to kind of like work in that way. I like it. All right. So next up, Kristen, do you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to know, would it still be interview style for the program that Rachel has? Both of those programs?
Did you say interview style?
Yeah, so like when I worked with Meredith, it was where I've interviewed like potential AmeriCorps VISTA members beforehand. Is it still the same setup?
Great. Yeah, that's a good question. So probably the way that we do interviewing and for the VISTA members is, so we have everyone applies via CDM, and then we send out the applications to the host sites. You all do phone interviews, and you choose your top 3, And then you and me do final interviews with the top 3 people, and then we decide together who to hire.
Excellent. That's a good question, Kristen. Any other questions for Rachel real quick before we pivot to the commission? Okay. Obviously, if you have additional questions, drop in the chat or raise your hand and we can for sure address them as needed. But we'll pivot to Jenna and Patrice from Michigan Community Service Commission to talk about their VISTA program.
Okay, so Meredith, do you want me to share the presentation or do you want to put it on?
Yeah, you can feel free to.
Okay.
You should be able to.
Okay, so I will share it and I'll take cues from Jenna to change the slide when she's ready.
So as Patrice is bringing that up, it's great to see some of your faces. I have to tell you, if you see me wiggling a lot, some of you know me well and some do not. I have some challenges with my back and it's in spasms. So when you see me do that funky moving around a lot, just know that it's pain and I'm doing my best to manage it. And so my voice tone also may be off a bit. So that's the only reason I share it, just to make sure that there aren't any assumptions that it's something else. It's just truly pain. So welcome, and we're so pleased to be able to have this opportunity to talk to many of you. I really liked where Rachel went. She did a nice broad spectrum and allowed people to think about things and different opportunities. And I think I wanted to start with that as well so that I don't lose that concept. Many of you probably have been following over the weekend of what has happened. But the wonderful news is that we had in that big $1 trillion package, there was $1 billion that was supposed to be slated to come to national service. And so the reason I share that with you, we don't know yet. We're waiting to find out. We understand some of the breakdowns that were intended in that, but we don't know how it's going to come to Michigan. So we all need to be ready to think about that and to think about what opportunities lie before us. So even when I was thinking about Rachel, for example, they have an amazing program and they're a wonderful partner of ours. So what if we do get more members? What are those opportunities? We have to identify for our strong programs that are out there. I mean, I see some of you also already here that are engaged in that too, that the possibility, and we don't know if this is how they're going to do it, the possibility may be they are going to say, start with programs that are existing to see if they want more slots. So that's number one. The second thing is that we understand, but we won't know for sure how much they gave, but we understand that potentially there is funding in as part of it to increase the living stipends for members. So what that means is it could be living stipend increase for current members that are serving, as well as for your future recruitment of members. And that will help us with recruitment. Because right now during COVID, we have to be real honest. One of our concerns is that how are we doing with recruitment and how challenging that is. And so one of the issues for all of you to think about is in the support of a member, as you probably already have been doing, how is that going? Because there's a lot of issues for all of us as far as across the country and across our state, but for members that are serving and seeing the needs. And so some of the mental health issues, and also I'm calling it the life happen moments that are happening in a moment like that. And so although they might be right there with you in service and their heart is in service, but if life happens, they may have to go in this other place. So all of a sudden we lose that member. So I share that with you, that we just have to be thinking of that. We have a great opportunity, but it comes at a time that we have a great challenge too. So I'm anticipating there will be extra. So when you're thinking of your needs and thinking of what this means for you as a host site, we may want to think about, just as Rachel was describing, let's look at both buckets. Let's look at the AmeriCorps direct service bucket, and is that good for you? Or the capacity building only, which is a VISTA, which many of you are used to. So there may be opportunities in both of those areas. And then we might, for example, I really want to push, there's supposed to be an increase in VISTA. So I'm trying to get a handle on where VISTA are throughout our state and who's doing what and who has that strength and ready. And then as a result, I'm going to try and nudge our regional office and say, okay, how many VISTA can we have in Michigan? Does that make sense? So we are already trying to increase and think about how we increase the number of opportunities for all of you. So I wanted to just share that, and I'll just pause there to see if anyone has any questions on that issue. Okay. So Patrice, let's move to the commission slides. Most of you know who we are, but we weren't sure who was being on the call. So we wanted to start just like Rachel did with leveling set. So Patrice, if we can go to the next slide, and we are there, thank you. I had my slides up on the side and I didn't realize yours were up. So in this slide, we basically wanted to just review how we started. Many of you know it began in 1991 as the Engler administration. They have a 25-member governor appointed commission that they started with. Because we started before as a lead agency for volunteerism is what we were. Then when President Clinton put in AmeriCorps, as you may remember, that was a time that was every single state had to have a state commission. We are that. And that's what guides us both on the federal level and then obviously at the state level, because then it was put in action that we would have this commission and with whom. So we do use, our tagline is using services strategy to address states' most pressing issues and empower volunteers to strengthen communities. But in addition, I heard Rachel have a couple taglines. We have two. We say that we're conveners, connectors, and resource generators. And so we see our role to help all of you. Convening, I appreciate so much MNA is the convener right now, but convening with you, connecting with you, and then we need to begin thinking, just as these resources are coming to us, how do we bring other resources to make all that happen? The other tagline that we use is we say we're the people that help people help. So in other words, when you especially think about volunteerism, many of you are looking at being able to leverage volunteers and how do we help you do that? And so we have some other resources we don't need to talk about on this, but I wanted you to be aware of that we're putting together and putting forward because we received a very nice Volunteer Generation Fund grant, which comes with some technology support. So let's go to the next slide, Patrice. So our four main initiatives, as you see, I spoke of, is volunteerism. Obviously, AmeriCorps came in is what we're doing. And then during the Governor Engler's, Governor Granholm's administration, excuse me, she had a very strong interest in mentoring. And so she said they would continue the commission as it was, and the first gentleman leading the commission if we put mentoring as part of it. So Mentor Michigan is who we are also. And then as part of it, we just have a very strong interest in supporting youth voice and having youth be part of the solutions. So the two areas for us for youth are a mentoring to have them have access to opportunities. And the second area is having youth have a voice to be part of the solution and they themselves be volunteers. And then the fourth area is around disaster. So response and preparedness. So all the way from what happened in Southeast Michigan when the flooding occurred to obviously the Flint water crisis that occurred, and then the many different flooding incidents through, we navigate based upon what the community is interested in our help. So it's either sometimes it is more in the donations management and sometimes it's the volunteer management. Throughout the time we've been going through COVID right now, it's been a little overwhelming because in addition to all the other pieces we've been wanting to support, we were called upon to help bring a lot of the personal protective equipment and donations, which were quite large, to be able to come and bring that to the safety for our healthcare. So we're looking right now also, some of you maybe as well, is what does that mean for vaccinations? And so AmeriCorps members have been retooling, rethinking, being nimble. It's so impressive what everyone's been doing. And again, those of you that are on the call now, then what you've been doing. So let's move to the next slide, Patrice. So our program, as far as for 2021-22, we started as, and I'm going to have Patrice go through this slide, but we started during President Obama's administration, and there was an emphasis and a desire for, many of you might remember the initiative called the My Brother's Keeper Initiative, to help young men be able to have access to opportunities, young Black men. And so when we looked at this, how could we do this? What kind of support could we provide as a My Brother's Keeper Initiative? But then in addition, we broaden it in general to support youth in various ways to have access to opportunities. We have an amazing diverse group as far as members, and so we're very proud of that. It started very diverse and has maintained that diversity. So I'm going to ask Patrice if she can just review a little bit. I have to tell you about Patrice, if you have not met her. She is an incredible woman who came from the trades industry, but wanted to, as a Black woman, help others, and especially Black girls and Black women know that they too could be a part of what this amazing thing that she was doing within engineering and other tech and STEM careers, but she wanted to understand what this also meant for helping as far as a nonprofit. So she did AmeriCorps for 2 years. I think it was 2 years. And then the third year she became a VISTA leader, and then her strength came through. And so we asked her to actually lead this program. So I'm going to turn over to Patrice. Again, I can't say enough about what she's been doing. A great person to have and to know. And so Patrice, can you share a little bit about the program and what this has been looking like?
Yes, so I will definitely share just a little bit, because I think a lot of things are familiar to the host sites, but a couple of things are, I think, very unique to us and I'm very proud of. One thing is our primary focus is in education, and we have a secondary focus in economic development for AmeriCorps right now, but it seems like there are so many opportunities for us to expand. And I had to catch myself today, as I feel like this pandemic is ending because of the increase in vaccinations and just the little all is clear from the CDC for us to hug, right? But it's so far from being over, and the pandemic is certainly not finished with us, and the fallout is massive. And so I am so proud to be a part of this program. And I love to say my executive director's vision to help nonprofits and universities and youth programs to recover and address the increasing needs of our youth today. Because even though, you know, this, we went through we are going through this pandemic, but we are going through the racial uprising, we're going through the DEI issues. It's just so many things that are coming up. And though that brings opportunity, it also increases the obstacles for our youth. And that's exactly what our programs get a chance to help the nonprofits, especially who are, you know, they went through some things. We saw nonprofits who had to close. We saw nonprofits who had to reduce their staff, and the Vistas have been able to come in and really help them right now in their time of need to create innovative solutions, programs, answers to the growing needs of our society today. And so you'll see, as you see some of our focus areas, some of the capacity building activities we do, asset and resource coordination, recruiting and engaging volunteers. Those are things I know that you've done and you do at your host sites. The youth voice, we feel that empowering the youth voice helps us to come to get answers that are unique for them, because they have a say in what's going on. And AmeriCorps definitely says that our answers is from our community, getting them involved and getting our youth involved in solutions and resolving some of our greatest issues going on is a really important thing. And we've done some great things in our program this year, and we're looking to expand that. And then COVID-19 support, just want to highlight that many of our host sites are doing many things to add to their programs to help get resources in the hands of families right now that are crippled by unemployment, crippled even by grief. Jenna mentioned about the emotional distress. And so we've had partnerships with different organizations to help with mental health issues that are going on. And that will probably increase because of what we're going through. So that's my little part. That's my say. There are some logistics, definitely, I'm willing to answer that may come to you, but that's pretty much what I have to say right now, and definitely open up to answering any questions on logistics or anything else you have about our program.
Well, Patrice, how if we go to the next slide too, and we'll cover that together. So okay. First of all, that list that you saw there, as Patrice said, it is not that you have to do all of those. We allow the ability, as you know, as far as in the VAD, we wrote it as a universal band that was large enough to allow people to attend to on that list what was important.
Right.
But there are obviously some key pieces everyone has to do, which is what Patrice is talking about, which is looking at volunteerism. So the number of members that we have, we started out with 12, we've increased that to 36. We currently have at least 5 host site slots available. Timeline wise with that, right now we have 27 host sites that we're supporting. In those host sites, the question to answer what Jenny had asked earlier, how many of those are returning, we're identifying that. What we did on purpose this first year of expansion, where some of them, as Patrice said, had some really strong needs. So we increased the number of VISTA members that were there. It's a possibility that we might be looking at that and then be saying, based upon the needs throughout the state, because this is a statewide program, just like what Rachel was referring to, is to ensure that we're meeting those needs in different places. So again, we anticipate, we do not know exactly how many host sites that we're going to have available, but I would say it's somewhere at least in the range of 5 to 10. It could be much higher based upon the number of those that submit to us. And so we wanted you to know, as far as the application process, and Patrice can help me to make sure I'm getting this right, that what she has right now is a Word document, but we wanted to tell you, and some of you know this that have been working with the commission, that we're moving to the grants management system of Flux. We have our new application in Flux, but we don't want to be held up for some of you that would like to get started on the application process. So we thought we'd create and provide the link to the Word document to allow people to start doing that. And then our anticipation is that we'll ask you to be able to submit in Flux, but that will help us get it moving forward. So the questions that you have is how many? So total members we have are 36. Some of those are leaders, but we do know, as far as host sites, we're open to receiving applications and identifying. But as I said earlier, there's been a few of you I've talked to, and like Jenny, she's amazing and she had some great ideas, and it might be really interesting to have some cohorts within the cohort. So there might be some really cool ways that we could do when we think about this, of how do we collectively use this as a vehicle, not just for having members, but the host sites to be able to think together of how we share ideas and how the members share ideas, but how you yourself do as well. So we're trying to figure that out, but also I'm trying to see, like I said earlier, I want to nudge. So if there are ideas or ways that you have needs that do not fit in youth and do not maybe fit with Rachel or some of the others, let's figure out what those are and who might be able to do it, and how do I nudge at the regional level to bring more members in. Does that make sense where I'm going with that? So I want you to know that this is an opportunity actually for us to think of those of you that have understood AmeriCorps Vista, know how it could right now during the pandemic have a path forward. And that this is a time to do that. And so I don't want anyone to be scared away, because I mean, Rachel's program is incredible. I would like vouch for that and completely. And so it's a really cool program. So I would like you to think of that, because they know how to manage members well and they do an amazing job. She had asked about, I mean, I know the host site fee would be a question. In the past, our host site fee was $7,500. During the pandemic, we dropped it down to $5,000 just because of the concern we had. But I think Rachel brings up a really good point. What do we do to support with housing? So maybe that's a conversation that we look to see how is CEDM doing that? Because it's tricky with Vista, how you do and have a host site fee, I mean, a housing fee. But as a cohort, maybe that's something we talk about, together, that we either try and find the funding for, or collectively, is there just a little bit more that we have in that host site fee to figure out how we can have members have something for housing, which will help support them. So I'm trying to figure out if I've answered. Patrice, help me. I might have missed something that you think that would be important. Is there anything besides that? Otherwise, we can open up for questions.
Yeah, I just want to add that I can send our application as a Word document to you. I have your email addresses, so if you're interested in that, I can definitely, I'm able to send it to you until we know further updates about when we're able to give the link out to Flux. So just want to let them know that I can actually email the document to them. And that's it. We're up for questions.
Yes.
And
I have a question for you, Patrice and Jenna, and I actually would ask the same of Rachel. So I know that your programs are both statewide. Are there geographic regions that you are really hoping to get more applications from or would be focusing on. Rachel, your connection to rural, not rural is hilarious. So like how do we think about, and Jenna, you and I have talked about this, how do we think about like statewide programs and how somebody would think about, like, geographically, does one make more sense than the other? I'm just curious.
I think
So I have some,
go ahead, Jenna.
I was gonna say, I have some thoughts, but I don't want to take the space up for Rachel. Rachel, is there anything you want to add first, and then I have some thoughts?
Not specifically, I guess, to be frank with everyone, we were originally focused on rural. We had a partnership that just kind of fizzled out. And so we had help in finding the rural host sites originally. And that just, as it fizzled out, there was just more non-rural, and Vista said, go for it. And I was like, whew, thank heavens, because we're having a hard time filling these in rural communities. But the need is still there, absolutely. And CEDAM hosts the Michigan Rural Council. So that's part of where we started, but there wasn't enough focus on it. I would love to see some additional applications. Ours have become really heavily, both with state and Vista, focused in the Southeast Michigan area. Every year it feels like there's one or two more that are in the Detroit area, which is great because that's where our population is, but there's still a lot of need all across the state.
So one of the things we did regionally, and I'm not sure if everyone is aware of the map, and I apologize, I should have put that as part of our slide because that's a really good question, Jenny, is if you take the map, there's two different regional components that right now the administration is using. One of those regional maps is an economic component, and the other region is based upon health and disasters. So when we wrote our grant of everything that we're supporting, for example, in Volunteer Generation Fund, as well as the expansion efforts, we had to, and we chose to use the healthcare coalitions is what it's called, and it's divided up in 8 regions. So for each of those regions, for the VGF and now all of the work the commission is doing, we are focusing very intentionally around those regions. And so to answer Jenny's question, the areas that we see that we do have more VISTA for our state, interestingly, there's a big pocket up near the Grand Traverse area. There is not a very strong pocket in the Northeast area. And I'm not saying strong in the sense that people aren't strong, it's just that we don't have many members there. So we would love to be able to reach out to the Northeast. I do feel that there's continuously, obviously the Upper Peninsula is huge. And so it'd be lovely to be able to add more there. I think that there's some needs in the Southwest area too. We have a couple things we're doing in the Southwest area with Albion College, both from an AmeriCorps perspective, and we're trying to support some VISTA ideas there. So to be honest with you, Jenny, we are wanting to, and I think would be great for us all to do is, we're trying to map out where all the VISTA and AmeriCorps members are in each of those regions, because if we're truly then trying to leverage and make sure that AmeriCorps and that is a resource that's available for all, then let's identify how to do it. So I don't know if that answers your question, Jenny. So I think that there are regions throughout the state that are in need. We just then have to also then figure out how to support them. Because we would have to ask each of you. I heard the question asked about the application process. It's been tough to recruit. And so what we've tried to do is we try to bring in a group of candidates. We then for each host site say, here are 5 candidates that fit and have an interest is in your host site. And then the interview process occurs, and then we really empower host sites, just like what Rachel was saying too, to have that decision-making process. But I'm intrigued that you say usually you window it down to 3 candidates and then you choose between 3. And I'm thinking, man, there are host places that we are lucky if we get 2. I'm like, oh, I get 1. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's really strong. Thank goodness. This is a wonderful person. So I would love to hear your recruitment process if you're getting to be able to dwindle it down for each host site in that capacity, because that's not what ours has been. So I'll go back to Jenny, because you have had some great ideas. Are there other things that you can think of that might be good for the group, or questions, or actually even information you have?
Yeah, I've shared all my good questions already. I mean, so Michigan College Access Network does utilize VISTAs, actually both from Jenna's program and the MNA program. So we're in this boat personally, but also for the field wanting to really have a little bit more of a systematic approach. Again, our lens is college access, which we take a very wide view of, and know that for our local college access networks and our partners around the state who do college access, that the VISTA work is super important and vital for a lot of our initiatives. And it's unfortunate that we're losing the MNA VISTA program, but we don't want to lose that momentum and don't want to lose that capacity. So anything that MCAN can do to help in this area, we want to do, whether it's helping, with some of these applications, or I'm really, Rachel and Patrice are lovely people, anyone can reach out directly, or if we need to start talking about what are some other opportunities, maybe, a direct service program makes more sense. We have, our advising corps for high schools, for example. So just wanting to help organizations think about national service big picture and how it can help organizations. Again, our lens is college access. I think Rachel would, maybe have that economic opportunity lens, but just want to make sure that we're supporting sites, and that in the absence of the M&A program, we collectively are taking the opportunity to be a little bit more strategic and figure out, how we maybe do trainings a little bit more joined, or recruitment, or all of these things that just get my wheels spinning. So that, that's kind of why I'm lurking over here, but just really excited to see, the direction that organizations want to go. I think there's more organizations that could take advantage of national service that aren't on this call, have never been introduced to AmeriCorps, could be a really great site. So what do we do to expand the footprint, especially in light of Jenna's great news about an increase to AmeriCorps? I mean, how do we really prepare our organizations and our communities to take advantage of that so that the people of Michigan benefit? So lots of thoughts there.
Well, Meredith, I'm wondering, and I don't want to put the burden on you, but maybe there's a few of us that could ask you, because I want to respectfully, not take away a role that maybe you would want to play. But maybe with this group and with your group, it sounds like you're going to send out information. But to Jenny's point, maybe we should do kind of some type of a survey to say, are you interested in continuing in AmeriCorps in some way? Would you like, and are you interested in direct service and or, so it can be both and or, for VISTA. And then it can be those of us like Rachel and others, we can start identifying and helping those sites say, okay, what's the best place to go? To Jenny's point, instead of it being like, and it doesn't mean it's a guarantee, obviously no one can guarantee, but on the other hand, helping sites and locations say, to Jenny's point, we need to figure out how we can expand this and expand the services and needs and meet the needs, and now we have an opportunity potentially to do it. So I just want us in Michigan to be prepared for that. At the commission, we're going to be whizzing. I mean, we have to get capacity up the wazoo. We might have to be hiring people. I mean, all these kind of things are going to happen to us, which is crazy at the same time of trying to bring in resources, right? So I'm letting you all know that, just honestly, that I don't want to drop the ball on this. Patrice is amazing. She is there. I mean, she's just been such a great leader in this. And so I can't speak enough on that. But Meredith, what do you think of that? Is that something you can help us with? And then maybe we can help Rachel and Patrice and others talk to them?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny you mention it, because it's in the works right now. A form of that survey to kind of gauge where we're at and gauge where host sites are at, so that we can better figure out how we can serve our host sites, right? Because that's our goal too. And yeah, it's an incredible idea. And I'd love to connect with Jenna, Patrice, Rachel, Jenny, other host sites and other, intermediaries that can really make a good difference. Because I think that your point's correct, that there's a lot of other ways to broaden services, to broaden capacity, to broaden impact. And it's not just VISTA, it might be AmeriCorps, it might be other versions of national service. And I think it's one of those, it's a great opportunity. So to your point, we might as well make advantage of it. Agreed.
That sounds great. And, and one of the things that Jenny has been talking about too is as far as what are the expertise and things that you all are doing, which are fantastic. I mean, all of us learn, obviously, I don't know the detail of every program, but I love it when I have an opportunity, like when Rachel presented what they're doing. I know how amazing they are, but it's great to always be refreshed, right? But there may be some things that each of us have, and people talk about working in silos, but some of you know that I have a different philosophy. And instead, I heard it a long time ago, and so I've adopted it. Instead of it, thinking of that your cylinders of excellence. It's because there are times that you need to have your expertise and be in your cylinder, and that's okay, and you don't apologize for that. But let's bridge those cylinders of excellence. Does that make sense? And I think that's what Jenny's talking about is, I think there's a real opportunity for us to think through and be strategic about it. So instead of Jenny having to shop around and say, oh, maybe I could have a few host sites here and a few host sites there, why not with her area have them all in the same place? And then the resources that she actually has that she's providing for her entities, that information can then go out to all the others that are working with youth. And if we do that strategically, how great that would be is the idea. So again, it's a concept that we've been mulling around, but yet again, I want to attribute it to the author of some of those ideas, which is Jenny. But I do know some of the others on this call that are thinking that way as well, right? So, I mean, and Nicole, I mean, I know there's so much that you're doing as well, and what you're doing, and we've had those kind of conversations as well in the past, and I know you're kind of shifted roles where you are, but you have this breadth of knowledge and expertise, and I would love to hear the others in the call too. So I don't want to just call out a few and miss someone, but let's think of this as how do we collectively do this? And so again, hats off to Meredith for willing to at least do that survey, get us started, start the conversation, but I think it can be more than, I call it, I want one of those. And maybe your capacity is that all you can do is say, I want one of those, and we're good with that. But we're also inviting you to, maybe it's a broader conversation than just, I want one of those. So.
Hey, Jenna, it's Nicole. Great to see you and some other familiar faces. We currently have one Vista, so I went from 116 at City Year to 1. So
Wow.
It's a very interesting different dynamic, but it's a small, newer organization, and we are growing, and I see lots of ways for National Service to plug into our work. And so count us in for 1. We would love 1, right? But I would also, more than that, would love to be a part of thinking about whether it's like a focus group or, you know, kind of continuing this dialogue. Would love to be, you know, kind of plugged into that. I'm, you know, saw the increase in funding and was incredibly excited for you all. And I'm wondering what your timeline looks like, and, you know, we can apply, but you're not certain on, you know, kind of your level of funding yet and those kinds of things. So just wondering when you think some of that might flush out, so that while we're working on this focus group, to me, I want to also make sure that we put in an application that makes sense. And if it's 5,000, you know, I might be able to ask for 2, but if it's 7,500, we would stick with 1, like those kinds of things. I think just need to practically
that makes sense.
Think about.
That makes sense. So Patrice and I were talking about that, just to let you know, to have 36 members, MNA would smile and would know this too, is that it's not as easy to say, okay, we're going to have all the members and they're going to start on September 1. And we each year say that, and it never works.
Of course.
So why not just go with it and go with the moment and go with it is what we've decided. And so, as you know, the AmeriCorps, the agency, it's so tough to say that, but I'm changing from CNCS to AmeriCorps, the agency. So AmeriCorps, the agency makes and dictates when we can bring on members, as we know, right? So what we're looking to do right now is we would like to get ahead of it and choose host sites now. And so it's not a rush at the end. In the past, typically, we would look at our start dates in August, September, and then all of a sudden they would be in November, and then we had to have December, and then we had January. So again, it's a challenge, but I'll be honest with you. If we don't do that, we're not truly going to meet needs. Does that make sense? And where the host sites are, because otherwise the member slot just sits there if you can't fill it. And if all of a sudden we can fill it another time. So our desire, and I've been talking about this, is potentially, if we have the host sites in place, we have some open slots now, we could identify host sites that do not have members and are ready and eager, that maybe we could start them over the summer if that fits. Does that make sense? It doesn't mean it has to. I mean, it might be that that will probably be a question, Meredith, you might even have it on there, is timing for people. Their ability to do and support a host site fee, maybe their ability to support the housing, which is Rachel's idea, which is fantastic. And then in addition to that, if there's a timing for them, wouldn't it be great if, and you say it that way, but then you go with a second best if you can't. So is it better for members to start in June? You know, is it better? again, does that make sense? So Nicole, I apologize for not having the exact answer, but what we're trying to do is be flexible for people and where the needs are, especially in this time period. So we will get out the applications, and then what we thought we might do is do a rolling acceptance and then work with a host site to say what makes sense for you. So does it make better sense to bring in a member and to look for recruitment and have that start date August? Does it make more sense that, gosh, wouldn't it be great if we could start them in July, get them prepared? Because then if you're working with youth, as we know, that the big push might be then in August. So know that we're open to both of those as far as for us. And Rachel has already kind of outlined their timeline. So I think we're the ones that are a little bit more questionable. So I apologize for that.
And I have to add is, one of our biggest questions or one of our biggest releases is from regional. And so we have the question before Stacy, and she kind of gave us a little, let me stand back because I'm not sure. So we're kind of in a holding pattern period, but we don't have to hold up for our host sites, but we do have to understand the timing we're able to, with AmeriCorps giving us our VMO, all of those logistics for members.
Yeah, good point, Patrice. So the point she's making is Stacy is our contact at the regional office, and we're trying to get them to agree to how many slots and when they will bring on the next group. I think they're being cautious because now they also knew the 1 billion was coming. So they're trying to figure out how they're going to make those decisions. And so we're just trying to nudge the best we can is the point. But again, I do anticipate that we could start members before August, if in fact that was the intent of a host site, because it's better for your operations. So all I'm saying is we're flexible in that. So.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Yep. Any other comments?
So I'm the program manager for Washtenaw Literacy. We're an adult literacy provider in the state. And we founded and run a coalition of other adult literacy providers statewide. I think we would have a really strong interest in doing something that was silo specific and that was strength specific with other adult literacy providers and create a cohort around that. And we cover the UP all the way down. So we've got a lot of those rural communities represented, a lot of really low capacity organizations where they have maybe 0.5 or 0 paid staff and are trying to run an organization to provide adult literacy, which both honestly covers youth in a lot of ways. If you don't have literate parents, you're not going to have functioning kids, but also the economic development piece in what people's job opportunities and opportunities for family sustaining wages might be. So we'd be really interested in that conversation. I will totally throw my hat in that ring.
Oh, that's fantastic. And could you do me a favor too? I'll tell everyone if you don't, my email, it's just my last name, HOLMES, Holmes, V for Virginia, @michigan.gov. Send me an email about it too, because I think we need to your point, look for maybe some of those siloed needs that go statewide and that we can then build bridges to others, like I said. And maybe there's a nudge there that we need to identify if there is a need and the number, is there something that we can get from the regional office to support it? Because it's certainly what you just described is an important aspect right now during COVID. And the path forward and what that means for people. So I think it's wonderful what you're doing, and I agree with you. So obviously a lot of us should be in a conversation, but we might want to have some specific conversations around issue areas like you're saying. And let's identify, is that an AmeriCorps program for direct service? Is that an AmeriCorps VISTA? And do we need to try and get the regional office to give us more specific around an area like that? Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. I will follow up with you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm new to this group. I'm Marlena Krolicki, representing Simca and the youth programs. And new to this group, but not at all new to the work. Great respect for adult literacy, have had sometimes back in that too. Currently, the programs that we so rely on our VISTA connection for are in the youth programming, working with Wayne Can for the college access, working with Manufacturing Day, working for college and career access. So many really incredible programs that our VISTA helps coordinate. So we are definitely in the conversation as this moves forward and how it can best move forward and how we can keep and or even expand the connections that we have for this work. We are in, and I just needed to put my voice. Do you put your voice on the table, or is that really mixing the force?
No, I think it's good. I think it's good. I think that's wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I think that's the thing too, and Meredith sends that out. If everyone could just even like to what you're doing now, and if others want to share too, like we need to hear those stories. Does that make sense? We need to collectively hear each other's stories, and then understanding that path and the vision that you all have. Because like I said, I mean, we have some opportunities here, and people that understand AmeriCorps are really important right now. And it's very difficult to have people that have not been in the AmeriCorps world. How do they access it? But it's very important for them to be able to access this resource. Does that make sense? So we need to figure out how we're trying actually to think of in our state formula processing. We've learned some things that maybe we can make things not as difficult as what AmeriCorps, the agency, does. And so again, hearing from some of you, maybe there's some cohorts that might want to join together. We might try and figure out how we can be creative. So love to hear more stories if there are any else on the call, and then we'll try and reach out to each of you.
And just one follow-up, I do think that's important what you just said, and perhaps if there is any way to capture that in the survey,
Yep.
how that can be captured, but really important information. Thanks.
I agree with you. And then we can share that is what I was thinking. And so then people can hear what those stories are, because again, each of you have a network, right? And so let's figure out how we do those networks together. So anything else anyone has to share?
Hi, Jenna. I just wanted to say hello. I haven't seen you in a while. It's Kelly Pringle.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Hi, Jenny. Yes, I have had a VISTA for many years. I'm still running our mentoring program here at Carson City Schools. So
Wow.
I just definitely don't want to lose out on any opportunity to do anything I can for this school district. I've been here for 25 years, and I just want to make sure that we can keep making things happen around here. So if there's a way I can partner with somebody else and make this work, it would be great.
Well, and if are there other, maybe you can raise the hands or something so I can see quickly, because I know, or put it in the chat. Are there other mentoring programs out there? Because what I really want to do is we have Mentor Michigan. We're trying to really strengthen those resources. And there's some things that we've learned and that we've received that we can support around mentoring, Kelly. So I don't know if there's others on the phone that are doing mentoring, but that is near and dear to our heart. So we really want to make sure that we have some programs with mentoring. But let's think beyond AmeriCorps with mentoring, right? Beyond VISTA, let's think of some other things. If you all didn't know, Kelly, she used to actually be really engaged with Mentor Michigan. And so hats off as far as for her and all she's been doing. So thank you.
Yes, yeah, thanks.
Any other comments?
I was just going to say that I think what's, again, unique about this opportunity is the fact that we do have multiple VISTA programs on here, and we're even talking about strategy and coordination. So to speak out of turn, but I'm going to do it. I think that it's going to be a little bit confusing for host sites to always be able to think through, like, what do I do now? Why should I apply to this program or this program? And I just want to encourage everyone, apply, right? And if you apply to CDM and Rachel's like, this isn't the right fit, Rachel's not just going to say, like, I'm now speaking for Rachel, but she's just not going to say, like, too bad, you're out of luck. She's going to call up Patrice or Jenna and say, does it make sense over here? Or what else can we do? Or can we, think about something differently? We don't want to lose, host sites because the infrastructure of national service is confusing. So we, as intermediaries, again, just to speak for, like, we will commit to working together though to make sure that host sites are supported and that you don't get lost. And again, Jenna and Patrice will do the same thing and say, Rachel, I think maybe Carson City is a better fit over here. Let's work that out. And we just know that it's a little bit of an inefficient process nationally, but locally and here at the state, we can commit to working together and making it a process that hopefully works a little bit better. So sorry partners, but I don't want people to be scared away by like having to navigate the kind of acronym soup of national service.
Go, Jenny,
Well,
you're my hero.
that's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's where we are, is we're like so deep in all of the CNCS Vista stuff, trying to figure it out by ourselves and
That's
blah.
Well, and you don't even have to apply. Just give us a call.
That's what.
If you talk to me, I can help you decide if I'm the right fit or if somebody else might be. Like, we all have that level of knowledge, I think, as intermediaries, where we can kind of point you in the right direction. So if you don't want to I don't want to say waste your time, but it can be a process to complete the application. So feel free to just reach out and be like, hey, I think we might be a good fit, but maybe we are, maybe we aren't. MNA and I have been doing that with each other for years, yeah, you're a better fit over here. And so you don't even have to go through the application process. Just reach out. We're happy to point in the right direction.
So what I even offer this as a suggestion too, with what Jenny said, the commission can serve in that role. I mean, to be honest with you, that's what MNA we've been talking about for a while, in that handoff, right? So the handoff, they used to have a large number. We increased the number of VISTA on purpose to make sure that we knew this was coming to be able to support. But beyond that, what if I work with, as far as MNA, to say, okay, let's look at the survey. Let's figure out how we convene. So remember I said conveners, connectors, resource generators. So in my opinion, one of the things that we should offer to you is Rachel would be there at the table with me. Don't misunderstand this, but yet we would then convene those that are intermediaries, those opportunities, allow you to have a centralized place to kind of process through. That's my dream, to be honest with you, is that the commission should be able to allow, I'm seeing some celebration from Rachel, so I'm glad, because I didn't want to take away something from Rachel, what she'd like to do. But on the other hand, we've been hearing that for a while. Like, we have people call up and they're trying to figure out, is AmeriCorps the right place, or do I do VISTA? We've been nudging and trying to get AmeriCorps, the agency, to give us and empower us. What we've done is we've created something called the National Service Leadership Council. And so it has representation from all streams of service. We're asking for them to help. We are identifying what are the barriers, what are the issues, what are the challenges. But in the meantime, what we're talking about, let's do some stuff, let's get out and do it. So I do think an action item is, let's pull you together. Let's identify what your needs are, so you're not having to go to so many different sources to figure it out. And we can help you navigate that, is the point. Does that sound good? So then we can be saying, oh my goodness, Rachel's programs, it sounds just perfect for you. But it doesn't mean we're promising that Rachel's going to take you in, but it again gives you an ability to understand that Rachel's program would be fabulous. So does that make sense? Is that helpful for people? Maybe giving some thumbs up or something so we know, are we on the right track? Will that help you? I'm seeing a few thumbs up. I'm seeing some smiles. Those that have not responded, is there something that we're missing that haven't had a chance to say anything yet? Just, since we have a few minutes left, what is it that you would like to share?
I'm good.
Okay.
My blood pressure went down 20 degrees in this call, so I'm good.
Oh, good. All right, so I know that I think actually I'm going to have to be signing off soon, so I'm going to turn this back over to everybody else. I know that the commission, I want you all to hear that we are going to be in this with MNA. We're going to be thinking of next steps, and then what we'll do as a commission is we will provide support for all of you to identify who are the intermediaries, where are the onesies out there, what does that look like, what's the best option, and is it direct service or is it capacity building? So with that, I'm going to sign off, and I'll let, as far as others, see if there's any other wrap up. Meredith, any other wrap ups that you'd like to make here?
Yeah, thanks, Jenna. I really appreciate everything that you brought to the conversation. Really appreciate it. So yeah, just very quickly to wrap up, this is likely not the last conversation we're all going to have, right? We'll be reaching out about additional resources, links. I'm probably going to now work with Jenna and other intermediaries to craft a little bit more of that survey and make sure that it's going to fulfill everyone's needs. Please take a look at it. I'll send it as a follow-up shortly. But in the meantime, again, please take a look at both organizations' applications and what they're looking at. Feel free to reach out. Again, I'll send out contact information for both sites and both programs. Feel free to reach out to them. Feel free to reach out to me. We'll make it work. But again, I'm sure this is not the last time that we'll all convene on another Zoom screen. I'm looking forward to more conversations and more ways to support. Seriously, if there are things that we can do to support MNA, MCSC, CEDM, MCAN, I'm going to throw Jenny out there again. Please let us know. We'll gladly support, and we'll do everything that we can to make sure that you can be involved in national service in the way that you're interested in the way that will make your organizations better. So thanks for joining. I'll send out a recording of this webinar as well. So if you have colleagues or other host sites that have missed things, feel free to rewatch. We will also, again, send out additional information, likely send out more meeting slots that we can all connect. We'll continue to have this conversation and continue to build from here. But thank you for taking an hour out of your Tuesday this week. It was good to see all your faces. It was great to hear from you. Let us know if we can do anything more to help. Sound good?
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, excellent.
Thank you so
everyone.
much for your grace and intelligence and service.
Yes. Meredith, thank you so